Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and the Destroyer of Worlds has returned. Now both SIC-ified and pocket-sized, after a trip through the HLJ dimension, SIC Kiwami Tamashi Kamen Rider Decade is ready for review. Much like his larger SIC counterpart, this version of Decade is bulked out and armored up. There are almost no flat surfaces on his suit, and the paintwork really brings that out. The magenta is strong, while the white is tarnished a little bit by either a thin application or a gray wash. However, this somehow manages to bring out the sculpting and not look too sloppy, at least on my copy. Looking anything but sloppy, the Deca Driver belt lacks the ring of symbols, but otherwise has very clean and intricate paintwork. Decade's helmet has similarly clean paintwork, while its sculpt can make things look a little mushy from the wrong angles. From any view, it is clear how vibrant his green optics are, though. To go with his basic fists, Decade also has some very well done calm and open hands. They go with his demeanor and match the motions of using the Deca Driver. Speaking of his demeanor, Decade has a head swap as well. What's interesting is that the heads plug into a rectangular peg that's attached to the ball joint, which feels a bit safer than simply popping a ball in and out of a socket. That alternate head is the Violent Emotion head from the original Movie War film. It's hard to tell that the forehead gem has changed from amber to dark purple, but the eyes are clearly more demonic. The vibrancy of the translucent green really brings this out. Finally, there's a pair of holding things hands, which work with Decade's weapon, the Ride Booker. Its mounting point on the belt is jointed, which helps with leg poseability. To transform the Ride Booker into its gun form, you swap out the handle for a slightly bent version. My first reaction is that I'd like to have had a joint there, but this does make for a solid connection. For the Ride Booker's sword form, the handle is swapped once again, before a blade is plugged into the top. Each of these parts only go in one direction cleanly, but like the gun form, a solid sword accessory is the end result. I'm not sure if this approach is better than just putting 3 different Ride Bookers in the package, but I can't deny that the end result pretty much works. It's time to look at the poseability of Sakai no Hakaisha Decade! His head is on a double ball joint, and when you first get the toy, this might be a little bit jammed. I had to do a bit of unstickery to get this thing to really start moving around, and originally it was so locked that it looked like he had kind of like no neck, and I was really bummed out, but once I got it moving, it really helped out, especially with the aesthetics of his armor. The neck is really important to make sure his head doesn't look like it's just kind of like sunken and buried inside the chest piece. So, that's cool. Lots of this kind of stuff. You can just do this all day. Let's just chill out for a little while. How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? His ab joint is kind of like the waist joint as well. It's a ball. It's got some crunch and some turn and some tilt. And it's got a nice amount of crunch. Doesn't look like the thing that happened with SIC KT Kuga happened to this guy. So that's good. I was worried because I only have 1.5s. So only so many ball joints to go around. His shoulder pads get out of the way. And his Ride Booker falls off when you bump it the way I just did. And he's got pretty much decent arm poseability. There's a joint and a ball joint to simulate a sort of a double joint. It has a deep enough bend that the full double joint thing, I'm not too worried. This is a small figure. And there's a ball joint on the wrist, although it is just for turning. There's not much wiggle room in there. Coming down to his legs, I'm going to go and find that Ride Booker so I can show you a thing. Ha! So anyway, I mentioned this earlier in the review, but the way that this thing attaches is on this little stick that then attaches itself to the belt. So there's a way to swing it around on the belt connection and a way to swing it around on the lower connection to the actual plug. This means that this Ride Booker is really good at just kind of getting out of the way. So I really dig that. And it's great because his legs are very poseable. This guy's got really good SIC KT poseability. And there's not really any limitations going on here. His ankles are hinged and tiltable. It's all good, man. You can totally break his ankle and stuff and have him just sprain a hamstring. I was worried at first that his arms would be a bit limited, and I was doubly worried at first that he had like the Agito thing going on where his shoulders were just set a little bit too low for my tastes, but there is enough wiggle room in here to really proportionally make everything work once you know what the body of this guy actually looks like. Like, if you lift these up, you can see that he is actually a well-proportioned dude with big shoulder pads. So, I really dig it. This guy's poseability is fantastic. There's nothing that really gets in the way of the experience, and I think that he's pretty much on par for what I want from SIC KT in 2013. Carrying on the practice started by SIC KT Kuga, Decade comes with a Tamashii stage that's really obviously customized in his magenta style. It includes a waist clip, but you can remove a piece from the back of Decade's belt to plug him directly into the stage's arm, which really is the way one should use this display option. The clip is just kind of enormous in proportion to Decade's body. SIC Kiwami Tamashii Decade initially struck me as being a bit awkward in its posability and sculpt, but once I got to know the figure, I found it to be a solid release in this series. The fit and finish of the toy is on par, and the inclusion of the stage is a great topper to its low retail price. The styling of the sculpt in particular is very specific, and it goes without saying that SIC's aesthetic isn't for everyone. If you are into the look and dig yourself some Decade, I'd really recommend picking this up. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I hope this video's helped out in deciding whether or not you want a little dimensional destroyer in your pants pocket.